Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, let's get started. Today we have four different things. First one, we will have a quick look of the specification just in case some of us didn't have had a look of it. And then we will go to the demo code and try to play with it. But, maybe before we do the demo code, we will also have a look of the Python basics. So I will list all the things you need to know before you do the demo code, before you do the programming stuff. And we will also have a demonstration of how to set up a file or string transferring via the UDP connection. So let's go to the specification at first. Here is a draft of how should our sender and receiver looks like. The idea is pretty simple, as you can see here. Firstly, we will have a file ready to be sent. It's a text file, and our sender will be able to read the file and then transform the string into bytes and put it into the UDP packet. Then we send several UDP packets depending on the size of the text file. And we send these bytes to the receiver, and the receiver will be able to reply the acknowledgement, so we can know which packet is lost, so we can resend. And just pay attention to here, we need to do this while the UDP connection. Make sure you are using the UDP connection, otherwise you will lose a lot of marks. And in the receiver side, all we need to do is just reply the ACK and combining different packets and save it into the file. So as you can see here, we need to write two different programs. The first one is the sender, and the second one is the receiver. But when you do the programming, maybe you want to do the receiver at first, as you want to run the receiver at first. Don't worry about it, and we will have a look of it of the demo code later. This will not be very hard. Actually, this assignment is easier than before, unlike the midterm exam, because I know the midterm exam is not pretty easy, right? But this time we have an easier assignment. So you are very likely to get very high marks on this one. Just follow the instructions. Yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. And we go to the next page. Let's have a quick look of the specifications. The first thing you want to check is maybe the slides. It is in the assignment section. It will give you some general idea of how this works. Basically, this one is just a short version of the specification. You can also, give me a sec, sorry. Yeah, this one. You can click this link. Then it will come to this page in the assignment section. You can have a check of this one if you hadn't had a look of the specification. And we also have a recording for this one. And the next one is the specification itself. So this one is very, very important. basically every question you have, you can find it in this specification. And at the end of it, you can see some test case in here, section 9. So after you have done your receiver and sender, try to run it with this kind of command, and you will be able to test your sender and receiver. And make sure you have the same output as the description in here. Please let me know if you have any question for the specification at any time. And we do have some recording for the specification in assignment and specification here. Sorry, in the schedule here. You can find the YouTube link from week 5. We go through the specification page by page. So if you didn't have a time to have a look of it, maybe you want to have a check of this video. Yep, so that's the useful information here. And now let's go through all the Python basics that we need to know before we do the assignment, including the file input output and the socket library, the class, and some simple regular expression for string manipulation, and the logging library. And the last one is multi-threading. For the multi-threading, don't worry too much about it because we have already done it for you, or maybe like 80% of it. All you need to do is just understand it and add some code based on our demo code. Okay, so let's come to the codes. Mm, Can you see the code clearly? Is it small? Is it too small? Okay, so let's firstly come to the file IO. Here I will just show you how to open a file and how to read a file. In here you can see I define a function, but actually we don't need to do this. Usually you will use this kind of code with open, a file name, and with the mode. If you want to read it as byte, then you use the mode RB. Otherwise, you will use the mode R. Let's try to run it. Okay, this is the file we have, and it will read the file. And also, you can input the the limit on the string that you want to read. Let's say every time you only want to read 20 bytes, then you can put 20 here. And let's try to run it again. Then you can see we only read 20 bytes here. And you can also have a while loop to make sure you have read through the file. You can use while true and read the file. And if we have content, then we print the content. And otherwise, we break this while loop. So with this, while loop, we will be able to print in different line. As you can see here, we have different lines. Because in the sender, we want to send the file like in with the maximum Windows parameters, and this number may be very useful. And we can try to change it to 100. And you can see we divided this file into 3 different packets. That's the file IO. And you can also use the refile as bytes and see how it goes. But basically the same, but the output is in a different type. Let's try to print it. Here I just change it to 1000. So we only have 1 packet. And we can also print the type of content. So you can see the difference. In the first one, the string is in the class string, and the second one is in the class bytes. So that's the difference with the different mode. And if you want to write a file, it will be quite similar. But in here, as you can see, we use the different mode. In here, we use W+. And let's try to run this one. And here are the contents. This one is a string. And we just write a hello world into the file to write.txt. And after we run it, you can check here are the file, hello world. You can also try to write different stuff. Then here are the outcomes. And also you can try to run this one. This one. So this time we write in bytes, write file to bytes. And we can use the mode WB+. So W means we are writing, and B means we are using the type of bytes, and plus means we want to create a file if the file not exists. So let's try to run it. And in this file, you can see we have already write a file. So that's the file IO. This one should be pretty easy for you, just a quick review so you can know what is the difference on the mode. Oh, sorry. And here, the second one is the socket. Socket. The socket should be also pretty easy for you because we have already done our labs. So here, just a quick example of the sender and receiver. Firstly, we just want to run the sender, receiver, sorry. Run the receiver. And second one, we run the sender. And we can divide it. As you can see here, if we run the sender, in the left-hand side, which is the receiver, we'll get a new message, hello. The code is pretty short, just 20 lines for each. And we can modify the message and send it again. Then you can see the receiver receive another message in different port number. And if you want to bind the port number, then you can use this line, the sender socket .blind. So this will allow us to bind the address, and every time we will send while this port number. Is that okay? Just a quick review of it. Please let me know if you have any questions. And the thing you want to pay attention is this one. This one means UDP connection. So make sure we are playing with the UDP instead of TCP. Yeah, if we are good, then we go to the next part. The class. This one. Just a quick review of the class. So if you have no idea what is a class, then you need to go through the online tutorial for the class Python basics. The class is usually for programming, but even you don't know it, it doesn't really matter. But it's better to know it because in our demo code we use class. Otherwise, it will take lots of time to understand how it works. So we just do some simple demonstration on how the class works. And you can have a check of this one. We have a class animal and a subclass dog. You can change to capital D. And the animal have a function run, and it will print the message. And it also have a init function. It will initialize the name. And in the dog class, we have a function bark, and it will also print a message. And let's see how it works. So we firstly run a dog. We just assign a dog one with a dog class and run the bark. Okay, here are the outputs. So the name of the dog and the function outputs is here. And the dog one can also have the run function because the dog class is the subclass of the animal. So you can imagine this class will inherit all the functions under animal. That's the reason why we can run the run function under the dog class. And we can also assign a cat under the class animal. And you can see, so that's how we use the class. And when we run, like assign the variable to a class, we will automatically run the init function in here. For example, we can print and in here we do not run any function. We just do the initialization for cat1 and see how it goes. You can see the init function activated. So the time you assign a variable to the animal class, we will automatically run this function. And that's why we need to have the init function inside the class. Okay, this is the class. And next one is the simple regular expression. The regular expression, firstly, it's a bit hard to understand, but after you understand it, it will be very easy to. But maybe you want to learn some syntax of the regular expression first. For example, we have an incoming message uh, about personal information, the name and age, and we want to extract what is the name and what is the age of the person. Then we can use the regular expression library to help us to match the name and the age. And that's how we do it. We use the regular expression, use the search function, and with this regular expression syntax, and the same as age, we use this D plus to match the age of the message. Then we can try to run it. Then you can see we matched Kate and 23. That's how regular expression works, but don't worry too much if you don't know how to use it. Because this one is optional. It can help you to do the assignment, but it's not compulsory. But with this library, it is definitely helpful for your like receiver to matching the headers. And we come to the next one, logging. The logging is very easy. This library, we already help you to write it in the demo code. So all you need to know is just go through this code and know what does this means. As you can see here, we import the library as well as the system SYS library. This SYS library will help us to print the log in our console. And let's try to run this one, then you will have an idea. Okay, so we run the login debug and login warning. So you can see the difference on the output in the console. The first line is debug and the second line is warning. So this one is the level. It doesn't really matter actually. But if you change the level in the config to like to warning, then it will only print the level larger than or equal to the warning. Let's try to run it again. Then you can see I didn't change much. I only changed the level, but we can only see one message, right? And we cannot see the debug information. So you will find it useful in your programming task. When you do the debug, then you change the logging level to debug, and you can run the program with debug information, just like the print. And after you don't need the print function, then you can change the level to warning or other level that you want, and then run your program. So the user cannot see your debug information, and you don't need to delete the print function line by line. And this one is pretty useful for your debugging. And in here, you can also change the format and the datetime format. So that this is the message format. And at the end of it, you can also choose a file name in the basic config and try to run it. And I delete this line. We don't use this SYS library to print it out. And this time you have no output. I change it to debug. And this time you will find we have no output, but we created a new file called receiver log. So all the information are in the file. And let's try to run it in warning level and run it again. Then you can see we add a new line. So this could be useful in our assignment to do the logging, as we need to have a log like this. And the setting is pretty simple, right? We just need to set the basic config of this one. And for debugging, you can use the SYS library to do it and run it. You can see the outputs in the console. That's how we do the logging stuff. This one is very useful even for other tasks, so it's highly recommended to use. The last one is the multi-threading, and do not feel any pressure if you cannot understand multi-threading. The multi-threading is here. So in here, we use the logging to help us to understand the multi-threading stuff. Just the same config as the last one. And in here, we have a function, you can see, the print message function. We will have a for loop in the range of 10, and we will print the message out, and we wait for 1 second after each printing. And here we are using the threading. We create 2 different threads, the thread 1 and thread 2. The thread 1 will print 10 different messages, and the thread 2 will print 20 different messages. For example, it should be like this. The thread 1 is like print message 10. The thread 1 looks like this. It's like we will print the message 1, 2, 0, 4, 5, 6 until 9. That's the thread 1. And the second thread will print 20 different messages. Okay, so now you understand what is T1 and T2, and we now put it into the threading stuff. And this one will allow us to run these 2 functions parallel. And we create a thread, and we start a thread, and we use the join function to wait until we finish them all. Now you can see there are 2 threads are running together. They are printing together. And the first thread is finished. Then we still have the second thread ongoing. So that's how the threading works. This one allows us to run 2 different functions like simultaneously. Is that okay? Just a quick demonstration of how this works. And we have already done this part for you in the demo code. All you need to know is to understand how does this work. For example, how do we create a threading stuff? We use the target parameters and put the function names into here. And then we put the arguments with this kind of format, right? It's a tuple, and put it in here. Then we use the function start and use the function join, because if we don't use the function join, then it will end Sometimes we will end like earlier than we expected, but in here it looks fine. Yeah, so this one is optional. But if you want to keep the like thread waiting until before the program is stopped, then you may need to use this one. But this is the multi-threading. Very basic. You just put a function into the threading class, then you just run the start function, and that's it. Okay, now we come back to here. We go through all the Python basics that you may need to know. So please let me know if you need any kind of help for this kind of stuff. And let's go to the next one. So now we will play with the demo code and try to do some simple version programming. So you can see here we have 3 different tasks. The first one is to try to send some string to receiver, and we can save the string into files. And we will firstly play with it and try to understand how does this works and how to run it. Let me try to open this one. Templates and templates. So this is the template code. You can find it in this link. You can come to the assignment. Then you can download the code in here because we are talking about the Python 2 and Python 3. In here, I use the Python 3 code to do the demonstration. But if you want to use the Python 2, it's also okay. The code is quite similar. The only difference is the print command. Then you can download the code in here. And you will also want to download the sample text file. Then we come back to here. If you want to run the code, then you can just simply follow the instructions here. And if you are using the IDE like me, this one is PyCharm. If you are using this kind of IDE, then you want to modify the configuration here. For example, for the receiver, we need to copy the parameters to the configurations here. You put the parameters at this part. You just copy the text to here. Then you press OK button and you can rerun the code. Yeah, looks good. And the sender, if you try to run it, you will have some error message. So all the same, you just copy the parameters and go to the configurations and put the parameters in here. And press OK, then you can run it. This is the sender. And this is the receiver. And if we put in like this, then you will be able to see like how does this work. So if we clear the message and run it again, then you can see the sender is sending a message to the receiver. You can see the message greetings, and the receiver will reply an acknowledgement to the sender. And that's the demo code. So now you want to do some modification with this kind of code. But firstly, you may need to understand how does this work. So we just, maybe firstly, we need to have a look of the receiver. As you can see here, we have a receiver class, and we have a if main stuff. That's the main logic of the program. And let's just ignore the program logic. We come to the receiver. The initialization function will allow us to save the parameters from ARGV. But don't worry too much about this part. Basically just saving everything. But if you have any trouble with this, please just let me know. That's the first function, and we only have two functions inside the receiver. The second one is the run. The run function is the logic of the receiver. So it's a while loop, and it will keep receiving the message from any sender, and it will do the logging stuff to let us know if we have any incoming message. And in here, we also reply acknowledgement, and you may want to modify this message in the future. And that's the whole logic. So we have a while true loop. We get a new message, then we reply acknowledgement. That's all. That's all the stuff. And in the if main, we have the basic config for the login. And we also print out some error message. Then that's it. Then we can have a check of the sender. The sender have lots of functions. The first one is the initializations. We have the comments in here. You can go through them. But basically, you just save the parameters from ARGV to the sender itself. We just save the variables into the sender. And we also create a thread to do the listening for incoming message. Otherwise, we cannot listen and send at the same time. So now you can imagine the sender is actually another server. We are running a server in the sender side to receive the acknowledgement from the receiver. So we are listening here. We are running the listen, this function. So we can have a quick look. Just like the left-hand side, just like this one, we have a while true loop. We have a while self is active, then we send the, then here we did not say anything. We just received the message. We use this one to receive the message. Then we print it out. So that's the listen. And at the end of it, we have a run function. We will run the PTP open, send, and close function one by one. So you may want to modify these three different functions. As you can see here, now is basically empty. Then you may need to add more codes here. For example, the PTP open. then we may want to open some file. And in the send function, then we may want to send some file, send some packets. And close, we just close everything. So that's the demo code we have. And now we are trying to doing the task 1. I will try to do the task 1 for you, and you can try to do the task 2 and task 3 and see how it goes. And please let me know if you have any question after this. And we will still have like 1 hour to do the discussion for any kind of question you have in this kind of programming. So for the task 0, task 1, we need to send a string and then save the string into files, because we can already send the greetings to the left-hand side. So all we need to do is to do some modification in here, in the receiver side. In here, I just put the code right after the while true loop. And here we will have a while true loop to get the incoming message. Then we will print this one. Maybe after this, I will save it into a file. So we can use the with command. With open, we open the file. What is the file name? The file name is in here. So maybe I just do more modification in this part. Just use the cell file name equal to the file name. So now we can use the file name with these variables, self file name. And with the mode, because the message is usually in bytes, and I can decode it or not, but in here I choose not to decode it. So I use the write bytes plus as our mode, and as file and file dot write with the incoming message. So this is the incoming message. Okay, so I think that's it. We just write it and let's see how it goes. So all we did is just add a write file, and with this line, we save the file name into the cell so we can use it in here. Let's try to rerun the receiver. Okay, now it's ready. And yes, we have a message here. Then let's check if we save it into file or not. What is the file name? It's the file to receive, I reckon. File to file receive, yes. Okay, so you can see that is the message we have received. And let's try to modify this one. Maybe modify the message here in the left-hand side. This is the message. We just make it longer and just add more string and see how it goes. And we send this message. Then now you can see the file is like this. But how about now we try to use the very long text file in here. This one is the very long text file from the assignment website. You can also download this text file. What do we want to do is to open this one and send it. Let's try to do the modification at the left-hand side. So we want to open this file. The file name is, what's the file name? It's random1. And this one we use the encode. Actually, we don't want to encode it. So we use the mode read in bytes as file. Content equal to this one. Content equal to file.reader. We will read all the stuff and send this one. We send the content here. We will send a very, very long text to the left-hand side and see how it goes. We send, no, as you can see here, we have some buffer size message, buffer size error here that you may want to handle this one in this line, because the buffer size is it's a digit 1024 right in here, but our text file is around 6,000 bytes. Of course, you can try to modify this one. Like you can try to modify this one to a very large. It may work, but that's not the way how we handle this one. And here you can try to rerun it. We do receive the stuff and save it into the file received. As you can see here, we did achieve this by modifying the buffer size, but in the assignment we need to have a flexible buffer size, which means sometimes we have to use 1000 in here. So you need to figure out a new way to do the file transferring. And now you can try to do this by yourself. I will just give you one more hint. Maybe do something in here. You can type 1000 here and see how it goes. Okay, so that's it for the programming task. You can try to do it for yourself and see how it goes. And if you have any trouble, just let me know. Okay, so now I will try to explain all the questions in the chat. And also you can feel free to share your screen if you want to share the code or something, but make sure your code, basically we do not encourage to share the code just in case someone copy your code. But if it's demo code, then it's fine. Or you can just show me some like error message and we can have a quick look. But I cannot teach you to do the programming task. I will just help you to understand and solve the question. And we have a new question. What is the difference between PTP send and PTP open? PTP send and PTP open. So this one, the PTP send and open is two functions that are recommended in the specification. We want to use the open function to open the file, but not send the file. For example, this one. We don't want to send it here. We want to send it here. But just to save time, I put a send in here. But maybe you want to separate open and send. But really depends on you. You can just open and send, like open, just change the name, open and send. You can do something like this. So it is not compulsory to have the same function under the sending. You can just have one function. Okay, so we come back to the task. Now you can try to do the task 2 and task 3. Where can we access the demo code? Yeah, it's in here. So you come to the website, WebCMS, and come to the assignment. The demo code is in here. You can see sender, receiver. And now I will stop sharing. If you need the slides, I will upload this one to the GitHub link. I will send the link to you. And if you have any question, you can just share the screen with me. And I will also stop recording so you can show the question like with your code. And the recording will be available in the website. And I think that's it. Let me stop it right now.